The great council chamber floated in the cold darkness of space. Concordia Prime was the biggest space station ever built. It was so large that entire cities could fit inside its metal walls. Ships from hundreds of worlds came and went like busy. Insects around a giant flower. Inside the main hall, creatures from across the galaxy sat in their special seats. Some breathed air like humans did. Others needed water tanks or gas clouds to stay alive. All of them were here for one reason. They needed to talk about the most important rule in the galaxy. Ambassador Kethvara stood up slowly. She was tall and thin, with blue skin that shined like metal. Her people came from a world with 3 suns. She had been coming to these meetings for 50 years. Today she looked tired. "New members of the council," she said in her soft voice. "You have asked about the first rule. You want to know why we must never attack human children. Some of you think this rule is unfair. Some of you think humans get special treatment." The new ambassadors shifted in their seats. They came from worlds that had just joined the galactic community. They did not understand yet. They would learn. Kethvara touched a button on her arm. The lights in the room went dark. Above them, stars appeared, but these were not just any stars. These were the stars of the Zenthric system. 300 years ago, Kethvara said, there were 12 planets here. Now there are only rocks and dust. A young ambassador from the Rigel colonies raised his hand. His name was Vorth, and his people looked like large cats with 6 arms. "What happened to them?" he asked. "The humans happened," said old Grextel from the back of the room. He was ancient even by his people's standards. His rock-like skin was covered in scars. "I was there when it started. I watched the whole war." Kethvara nodded to him. "Tell them, old friend." Grextal stood up with difficulty. His voice was like stones grinding together. The Zenthric Empire was strong back then. They had the biggest fleet in this part of the galaxy. They thought they were the masters of space. They looked at the humans and saw weak creatures who lived on only a few worlds. The room was very quiet now. Even the sounds of the station's machines seemed softer. "The humans had been in space for maybe 200 years, Grextel continued. They were still new, still learning. The Zenthric decided to teach them a lesson. They wanted to show everyone what happened to species that did not bow down to the Empire." Ambassador Vorth leaned forward. "What did they do?" "They attacked a human colony world called Kepler's Dream. It was a peaceful place. Farmers and scientists mostly. The Zenthric fleet came down from the sky like metal rain. They destroyed everything. Cities, farms, schools." Grextel's voice got very quiet. "They killed everyone. Men, women, children. Even the babies." Several of the new ambassadors made sounds of shock. Their own people had wars, but most had rules about not hurting children. "The Zenthric generals laughed," Grextel said. "They sent messages to Earth. They said this was what happened to humans who did not obey. They said they would do it again, and again until humanity gave up." Kethvara turned the star display. Now it showed Earth and the human colonies as they were 300 years ago. Small dots of light scattered across space. "The humans did not surrender," she said. "Instead, they did something no one expected. They went silent. For 3 months. No human ship moved. No messages came from their worlds. The galaxy thought maybe they had given up." But they had not given up," Grextel said. "They were building, planning, getting ready." The display changed again. Now it showed the human fleet as it moved towards Zenthric space. It was not the small collection of ships everyone expected. It was a war machine like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. "How many ships?" asked a small ambassador whose people lived underwater on their homeworld. "No one knows for sure," Kethvara said. "Some say 50,000, others say 100,000. The humans had turned their entire civilization into a weapon factory. Every human world, every space station, every mining ship was making tools of war. The first battle was at Zenthric 5, Grextel remembered. "I was commanding a trade ship nearby. I saw it happen. The human fleet came out of hyperspace like angry gods. The Zenthrak had 2,000 warships defending that world. The humans destroyed them all in 4 hours. Ambassador Vorth's cat-like ears flattened against his head. 4 hours. 2,000 ships? The humans had new weapons, Kethvara explained. Things no one had seen before, missiles that could think. Energy beams that could cut through any armor. But the worst part was not their technology, it was their anger. I tried to contact the human admiral, Grextal said. I thought maybe I could help stop the fighting. When his face appeared on my screen, I almost ran away. His eyes were like empty space, cold and dark. He said only one thing to me. The children of Kepler's dream demand an answer. The room was so quiet that the new ambassadors could hear their own hearts beating. Planet after planet fell. Kethvara continued. The humans did not just defeat the Zenthrak military. They hunted down every single Zenthrak in the galaxy. Every world, every ship, every hidden base. It took them 5 years to finish the job. What happened to the Zenthrak civilians? Asked a nervous ambassador from the Spiral Arm worlds. Grextal and Kethvara looked at each other. The answer was hard to say. There are no Zenthrak civilians, Grextal said finally. There are no Zenthrak at all. The humans made sure their species ended forever. The new ambassadors sat in shocked silence. They had heard stories about human wars, but this was something else. This was complete destruction of an entire people. After the war ended, Kethvara said, the surviving galactic powers met here on Concordia Prime. We were all afraid. We had seen what humans could do when their children were killed. We needed to make sure it never happened again. So we made the first rule, Grextal added. Human children are not to be touched, ever, by anyone. For any reason. But why just human children? Asked Ambassador Vorth. What about everyone else's children? Because, Kethvara said sadly, humans are the only species that will destroy entire civilizations to protect their young. Most of us will fight to defend our children, yes. But humans will fight until nothing is left of their enemies. They will hunt across the galaxy for revenge. They will never stop, never forgive, never forget. The star display showed the current galaxy. Hundreds of peaceful worlds, busy trade routes, thousands of species living and working together. For 300 years we have had peace, Kethvara said. No major wars, no genocide. The humans have become our protectors, even though they never ask for the job. They patrol the dangerous parts of space. They stop pirates and slavers. They keep us all safe. And all they ask in return, Grextal said, is that we never ever hurt their children. What if someone breaks the rule by accident? Asked a small ambassador from the Edge Worlds. Kethvara's blue skin became darker. There are no accidents when it comes to children. The humans make no difference between a mistake and an attack. If human children die because of something you did, you answer to them. The rule has kept us safe, Grextal said. As long as we follow it, the humans are our friends. They share their technology. They help us solve our problems. They even protect other species' children now, because they know children matter. Ambassador Vorth raised one of his 6 hands again. Has anyone ever tested the rule? The room got very cold very fast. Twice, Kethvara said. The Kree Consortium tried it 50 years ago. They thought they could hide what they did. They thought the humans would not find out. She paused. There is no Kree Consortium anymore? The second time was the Hive World's rebellion, Grextal added. They took human children as hostages. They thought it would make the humans back down. He shook his massive head. The Hive Worlds are empty now, nothing but dead rock floating in space. The new ambassadors looked around at each other. They were beginning to understand. The humans were not just another species in the galaxy. They were something else. Something that could be friendly and helpful, but could also become something terrible if pushed too far. Remember this lesson, Kethvara said as she turned the lights back on. The first rule exists because the alternative is worse. Much worse. The humans learned to be peaceful by learning to be the most dangerous thing in the galaxy first. They chose to protect instead of destroy, Grextel said. But that choice depends on all of us keeping our word. The day we break faith with humanity is the day the galaxy burns. The meeting ended quietly. The new ambassadors filed out slowly, their minds full of new understanding. They had thought the rule was about human privilege. Now they knew it was about galactic survival. Above them all, Concordia Prime continued its slow turn through space. Inside its walls, hundreds of species worked together in peace. And somewhere in the darkness between the stars, human ships patrolled the void, keeping watch over a galaxy that had learned to fear their love for their children. Chairman Vexstar looked out the window of his private office at the dying stars beyond. His species, the Melkari, were known for their long lives and patient planning. But patience would not save them now. His homeworld was running out of time. The door to his office opened with a soft sound. 6 figures walked in. They moved like shadows, careful not to make noise. These were the leaders of the Hegemony of 6, the most desperate alliance in galactic history. "The meeting is secure," said General Throkvar of the Saurian Empire. His people looked like giant lizards that walked on 2 legs. Once they had ruled 30 star systems. Now they controlled only 3 dying worlds. No recording devices, no witnesses. Vexstar nodded. His gray skin was covered in the ritual scars of his people. Each scar marked a difficult decision he had made. After today, he would need many more scars. "Our worlds are failing," said Queen Zephyra of the Crystal Quartz. Her body was made of living stone that sparkled with inner light, but that light was getting dimmer each day. "Our people are starving. Our children are being born sick and weak. The trade routes have moved away from our space," added Admiral Kolseth of the Iron Fleet. His mechanical body was old and broken in many places. His people had replaced their flesh with metal long ago, but even metal needed resources to stay strong. "The humans and their allies control all the best worlds now." Chairman Vexstar walked to his desk. On it was a hologram of a world covered in green forests and blue oceans. Beautiful cities dotted the continents. Ships moved in and out of orbit like a dance. "New Eden," he said quietly. 40,000 human colonists. 12,000 of those are children. The room became very quiet. Everyone knew what those numbers meant. "The planet sits on the largest titanium deposits in this sector," Vexstar continued. "Enough rare metals to rebuild all our worlds. Enough resources to feed our people for 1,000 years. But the first rule," whispered Counselor Fremdal of the Void Swimmers. His people lived in the empty space between stars, but even they needed solid matter to survive. "If we touch human children ... then we all die," finished General Throkvar. "We know the stories, we know what humans do." Vexstar smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "Only if they find out it was us." He pressed a button on his desk. The hologram changed to show a different fleet. The ships were black and had no markings. They looked like the vessels that pirates used. "The Black Star Pirates," Vexstar explained. "Everyone knows they raid colonies on the edge of human space. They kill without mercy. They take what they want." Queen Zephyra's crystal body flashed with understanding. "You want to make it look like pirates attacked New Eden." "I have been planning this for 2 years," Vexstar said. "I have bought ships from black market dealers. I have hired mercenaries from species that have no love for humans. I have even found some humans who will work for enough money." Admiral Kolseth's mechanical eyes glowed red. "You want us to pretend to be pirates and attack a human colony world?" "Not just attack," Vexstar said. "Destroy completely. Leave no witnesses. Make it look like a normal pirate raid that went wrong." "The humans will investigate," said Counselor Fremdal. "They always investigate when their people die. And they will find exactly what we want them to find," Vexstar replied. "Black Star pirate weapons, Black Star pirate ship parts, even recordings of Black Star pirates talking about the attack." He pressed another button. A voice filled the room. It was speaking in the rough language that pirates used. "New Eden is soft and weak, easy money. Kill them all and take everything? That recording will be found in the wreckage, Vexstar said, along with pirate ship logs and stolen goods from other raids. General Throker walked closer to the desk. What about the real Black Star pirates? They will say they did not do it. The real Black Star pirates will be dead, Vexstar said simply. I have already arranged for their main base to be destroyed the same day we attack New Eden, the humans. We'll think they got revenge when they find the pirate bodice. The 6 leaders looked at each other. They all knew this plan was dangerous beyond words. But their choices were simple. Take this risk or watch their people die slowly. How many ships do we need? Asked Queen Zephyra. 50 vessels, Vexstar replied. Fast attack ships with heavy weapons. Enough to destroy the colony quickly. The human defense fleet for that sector is small, added Admiral Colseth. Only 3 patrol ships. We can handle them easily. What about the children? Whispered Counselor Fremdal. His people had their own young to protect. The idea of killing another species' children made him feel sick. War is ugly, said General Throker coldly. Children die in wars. It has always been this way. Not human children, Fremdal replied. Never human children. That is the whole point of the first rule. The first rule only matters if someone breaks it on purpose, Vexstar said. Pirates do not follow galactic law. Pirates kill whoever they want. The humans will blame the pirates, not us. Queen Zephyra's crystal body pulsed with worried light. What if we are wrong? What if the humans figure out the truth? Vexstar's smile got wider and colder. Then we die fighting instead of dying slowly? At least our people will have a chance to live. The meeting continued for 3 more hours. They planned every detail of the attack. Which ships would hit which targets. How to plant the fake evidence. How to make sure no one escaped to tell the real story. When the others left, Vexstar sat alone in his office. He looked at the hologram of New Eden again. Such a beautiful world. Such happy people living there. In a few days it would all be ash and dust. He thought about the human children who would die. 12,000 young lives ended so that his people might live. It was a terrible choice, but it was the only choice he could see. Vexstar opened a private communication channel. On his screen appeared the face of a scarred human male. This was Captain Rex Morrison, a mercenary who would do anything for money. Is everything ready? Vexstar asked. Ships are in position, Morrison replied. Weapons are loaded. The boys are eager to get started. Remember, it must look like a real pirate raid. Take some prisoners at first. Demand ransom. Make it look like you tried to avoid killing everyone. Morrison laughed, but it was an ugly sound. And when they refused to pay? Then you kill them all, every last one. Make sure the settlement is completely destroyed. What about the kids? Vexstar felt something cold settle in his stomach. Pirates do not care about age, you know this. Yeah, I know. Just checking. Morrison's scarred face showed no emotion. We hit them tomorrow at dawn. 3 days from now, New Eden will be a crater. The communication ended. Vexstar sat in the darkness and tried not to think about what he had just arranged. In 3 days, the first rule would be broken. The humans would be angry, but they would blame the wrong people. At least, that was what he told himself. Far away. On the human colony world of New Eden, children played in the streets of Haven City. They laughed and ran and dreamed of growing up to explore the stars. Their parents watched them with love and pride. None of them knew that tomorrow would bring fire from the sky. In the main colony hospital, Dr. Sarah Kim finished her shift in the children's ward. 20 young patients were sleeping peacefully in their beds. Some had been born on New Eden. Others had come from Earth with their families. All of them were human children under the protection of the first rule. Dr. Kim did not know that in 18 hours, her hospital would be the first target hit by the fake pirate fleet. The night was peaceful on New Eden. Stars shined down on a world that had never known war. Children slept safely in their beds while their parents planned for tomorrow. Tomorrow would bring horror. Beyond imagination. Tomorrow would break the most sacred law in the galaxy. And when the humans learned the Truth about who was really responsible. Tomorrow would be the day that started the end of everything. Captain Sarah Chun was drinking coffee in her quarters when the message arrived. Her patrol ship, the UES Vigilant, was 3 days out from New Eden on a routine sweep of the outer colonies. It was supposed to be a quiet mission. The communication console beeped with an urgent priority signal. Sarah set down her coffee and walked over to see what was happening. The message was encrypted with codes she had never seen before. "Computer, decode message using all available keys," she said. Decoding failed. "Unknown encryption detected," the computer replied. Sarah frowned. She was about to delete the message when she noticed something strange. Hidden in the data stream was a tiny marker. It was the kind of thing only someone with intelligence training would see. She ran the marker through her personal database. Her breath caught in her throat when she found a match. It was the emergency signal of HFY's personal spy. Network. Sarah's hands shook as she entered her own secret codes. The message slowly decoded itself. What she read made her blood turn to ice. New Eden destroyed. 40,000 dead. 12,000 children murdered. Council betrayal confirmed. Evidence attached. Trust no one in official channels. The first rule is broken. May the ancestors forgive us all. The message was signed with a name Sarah recognized. Agent Telmuth was one of HFY's most trusted spies. He had been watching the council for suspicious activity for years. Sarah opened the attached files with trembling fingers. What she saw made her sick to her stomach. Video recordings of the attack on New Eden. Ships with fake pirate markings raining death from the sky. The colony's desperate calls for help that would never be answered. Bodies of children lying in the ruins of their schools. But worse than the attack itself was the evidence of who was really behind it. Financial records showing payments from Chairman Vextar to mercenary groups. Communication logs between hegemony leaders planning the false flag operation. Even recordings of the fake pirate fleet receiving their orders. The humans had been betrayed by the very council they had trusted to keep the peace. Sarah's hands moved without conscious thought. She activated the ship's emergency beacon and sent out a recall signal to every human vessel in the sector. Then she opened a channel to Earth Command. "This is Captain Chen of the UES Vigilant. Priority Alpha emergency. I need to speak to Admiral Cross immediately. Captain, Admiral Cross is in a strategy meeting. Can this wait until—" "No, it cannot wait." Sarah's voice was like steel. "Patch me through now. The first rule has been broken." The communication officer on the other end went silent. Everyone in the human fleet knew what those words meant. 2 minutes later, Admiral Marcus Cross appeared on her screen. He was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes. He had spent 40 years keeping peace in the galaxy. Sarah had never seen him look angry before. Now his face was like carved stone. "Report, Captain." Sarah transmitted the files without saying a word. She watched the Admiral's face as he read through the evidence. She saw his eyes go cold and empty, just like the old stories described. "How many people have seen this?" Cross asked quietly. "Just me, sir. The original sender is dead. Killed trying to get this information out." "Good. Maintain communication silence from this point forward. Return to Earth immediately. Tell no one what you have learned." "Sir, what about—" "That is an order, Captain." The transmission ended. Sarah sat alone in her quarters, staring at the evidence of galactic betrayal. Outside her window, the stars looked different now, less friendly. More dangerous. She did not know that across human space, similar conversations were happening on hundreds of ships. On the heavy cruiser UES Retribution, Captain James Park received his own copy of the evidence. He immediately locked down his ship and began the journey home. On the research station Kepler base, Dr. Michael Torres finished reading the files and quietly began shutting down all ongoing projects. On the trade hub New Singapore, civilian administrator Lisa Wong started canceling all non-human business deals and sending the alien merchants away within 6 hours of Captain Hyun receiving the message. Every human in the galaxy had been told the same thing: "Come home now. Tell no one why." The recall was so swift and complete that most alien species did not notice at first. Human ships simply finished their current business and left. Human diplomats made polite excuses and departed. Human traders completed their deals and headed for human space. It took 3 days for the rest of the galaxy to realize what was happening. Ambassador Kethvara was the first to understand. She was in her office on Concordia Prime when her aide brought her the daily shipping reports. "All human vessels have left the station," the young Altarian said. "Even the permanent embassy staff are gone." Kethvara felt her blue skin turn pale. "When did they leave?" "Over the past 2 days, they all cited various reasons. Equipment failures, family emergencies, schedule changes." "Show me the galactic traffic charts," Kethvara ordered. The holographic display showed the normal flow of ships between star systems. Trade routes looked like glowing rivers of light connecting hundreds of worlds. But something was wrong with the pattern. "Where are all the human ships?" Kethvara whispered. Her aide touched the controls. The display filtered to show only human vessels. The result was shocking. Every single human ship in the galaxy was moving toward Earth and the human colonies. Not one was heading anywhere else. "Get me Ambassador Torres from the human embassy," Kethvara said urgently. "Ma'am, Ambassador Torres left yesterday. He said there was a crisis on Earth that required his immediate attention." Kethvara's worst fears were coming true. She activated her personal communication system and tried to reach her spy network. One by one, her agents in human space reported the same thing. The humans were mobilizing for war, not the small, careful military actions they had used to keep peace for 300 years. This was total mobilization. Every ship, every soldier, every weapon was being gathered in one place. But mobilizing for war against whom? Kethvara tried calling human leaders she had known for decades. None of them would take her calls. She sent urgent messages through diplomatic channels. All of them came back marked as undeliverable. Humanity had cut all ties with the galactic community. On the other side of the station, Chairman Vextar was having his own crisis. His aide burst into his office without waiting for permission. "Sir, we have a problem. The human trade delegations have all left. The technology sharing agreements have been suspended. Even the cultural exchange programs have been canceled." "What reason did they give?" Vextar asked. He tried to keep his voice calm, but inside he was panicking. "Different reasons for each group? But sir, they all left within the same 48-hour period." That cannot be a coincidence. Vextar's mind raced. The attack on New Eden had happened exactly 1 week ago. The fake evidence had been planted perfectly. The pirate base had been destroyed right on schedule. Everything had gone according to plan. So why were the humans acting like they knew the truth? "Get me a secure channel to Captain Morrison," Vextar ordered. "Sir, Captain Morrison's ship was destroyed 3 days ago. Officially, it was a reactor accident, but our sources say it was attacked by unknown vessels." Vextar felt ice form in his stomach. Morrison and his crew were the only ones who could connect the hegemony to the New Eden attack. If they were dead, it meant someone was cleaning up loose ends. It meant the humans knew. "Sir," his aide continued, "there is something else. Our intelligence sources report massive fleet movements in human space. They are building up the largest military force in galactic history." "How large?" Vextar whispered. "Conservative estimates suggest over 200,000 warships. Possibly more." Vextar sat down heavily in his chair. 200,000 ships was more than the entire rest of the galaxy combined. It was enough to conquer every star system in known space across the galaxy. Other leaders were making the same terrible discovery. The humans had learned the truth about New Eden. They knew who was really responsible for breaking the first rule, and now they were coming. General Throkvar of the Saurian Empire called an emergency meeting of his war council. "How long until our fleets can be ready for battle?" he demanded. "Sir, our total naval strength is 800 ships. Intelligence reports suggest the humans will have at least 100 times that number." Queen Zephyra of the Crystal Courts tried to reach out to potential allies. But every species she contacted gave her the same answer. They would not fight humanity to protect the hegemony of 6 Admiral Kolsith of the Iron Fleet began preparing his worlds for siege. His people had survived wars before by hiding in deep space bunkers, but this time felt different. This time there would be no place to hide. On Earth, Admiral Cross stood in the main war room watching the fleet build up. Ships arrived every hour from across human space. Carriers, battleships, destroyers, support vessels. The greatest armada in human history was taking shape. His aide approached with the latest intelligence reports. Sir, we now have confirmation that Chairman Vextar personally organized the attack. The evidence is overwhelming. What about the other hegemony leaders? All complicit. They all knew what was being planned. Admiral Cross nodded slowly. He had hoped against hope that this was the work of rogue pirates or a small conspiracy. But the evidence showed it went all the way to the top of the galactic government. The human fleet arrived at the edge of hegemony space like death itself. 300,000 ships moving in perfect formation. The largest war machine ever assembled in galactic history. Admiral Cross stood on the bridge of his flagship, the UES Retribution. Through the massive windows, he could see the enemy fleet waiting for them. 800 hegemony ships trying to look brave in the face of certain destruction. Admiral, said his communications officer, we are receiving surrender. Offers from 12 different hegemony worlds. They want to negotiate. Tell them we do not negotiate with child killers, Cross replied without emotion. Begin the attack. The first target was Soros Prime, homeworld of General Throkvar. The Saurian Empire had controlled this system for 1,000 years. Their massive battle stations guarded every approach route. Their planetary shields were supposed to be unbreakable. The human fleet did not try to break through the defenses. Instead, they did something no one expected. Quantum torpedoes armed and ready, reported the weapons officer. Fire, said Cross. The torpedoes did not look like much. Small silver objects that moved slowly through space. The Saurian defenders laughed and shot them down easily, but destroying the torpedoes was exactly what the humans wanted. Each torpedo carried a quantum virus. When the Saurian weapons hit them, the virus spread through their computer networks like poison through water. Within minutes, every electronic system in the Soros system began to fail. The great battle stations went dark. The planetary shields flickered and died. Even the communication system stopped working. Sir, reported General Throkvar's aide, we have lost all contact with our outer defenses. The orbital platforms are not responding. Through his office window, Throkvar could see human ships moving toward his world like a cloud of death. His people were firing everything they had, but their weapons could not reach the human vessels. How is that possible? He demanded. The humans have new shield technology. Our energy weapons pass right through their barriers. Throkvar watched in horror as human landing ships descended toward his cities. But these were not invasion troops. These were something much worse. The ships released clouds of microscopic machines into the atmosphere. The machines looked for specific DNA patterns. When they found Saurian genetic material, they began to work. The plague moved through the population like wildfire. But it did not kill quickly. Instead, it made the Saurians unable to have children. Any eggs they laid would never hatch. Any young already born would be the last of their kind. Admiral Cross, came a desperate communication from the planet's surface. This is General Throkvar. I surrender unconditionally. Please stop the attack. Cross looked at the face of the alien general on his screen. The proud warrior was crying like a child. You killed human children, Cross said simply. So now your species will have no children either. But the civilian population had nothing to do with the attack. The children of New Eden had nothing to do with your wars either. Yet you killed them anyway. The communication ended. Cross turned to his fleet coordinator. Status report. Soros Prime neutralized. Planetary population will be extinct within 1 generation, moving to Target 2. The second target was the crystal quartz of Queen Zephyra. Her people lived on worlds made of living crystal that sang beautiful music as the wind passed through them. The human fleet did not destroy the crystal worlds. Instead, they introduced a different kind of virus. This one attacked the resonance frequencies that held the crystal structures together. The beautiful singing stopped. The living crystals began to crack and crumble. The crystal quartz would survive, but their civilization was reduced to rubble. They would spend the next 1,000 years rebuilding what they had lost. Queen Zephyra sent frantic messages to every neutral government in the galaxy. "Help us, the humans have gone mad. They are destroying entire civilizations." But no one answered her calls. The other species remembered the stories of what happened to those who fought humanity. They did not want to share the hegemony's fate. The third target was the Iron Fleet of Admiral Kolsith. His people had turned themselves into machines long ago, thinking that metal bodies would make them stronger than flesh. The humans showed them they were wrong. Each human ship carried EMP cannons designed specifically for this battle. When they fired, every electronic system in the Iron Fleet stopped working. Ships drifted helplessly in space. Artificial bodies shut down like broken toys, but the humans did not stop there. They had studied Iron Fleet technology for years. They knew exactly how their mechanical bodies worked. The boarding parties that entered the disabled ships carried special tools. They removed critical components from every Iron Fleet citizen they found. Not enough to kill them, but enough to make sure they could never repair themselves properly. Admiral Kolsith found himself trapped in a body that barely functioned. His legs would not work. His arms shook constantly. His voice was reduced to a whisper. "Why?" he asked when the human soldiers found him. "Because you helped plan the murder of children," the human sergeant replied. "Now you know what it feels like to be helpless." The fourth target was the void swimmers of Counselor Fremdel. These strange beings lived in the empty space between stars. Feeding on cosmic radiation and dark matter, the humans had developed weapons, specifically for creatures that lived in the void. Dark matter disruptors that turned the void swimmers' food source into poison. Radiation scramblers that made space itself painful for them to exist in. Fremdal and his people found themselves driven from the void into normal space, where they began to starve. They begged for mercy, promising to do anything the humans wanted. "You will serve as an example," the human commander told them. "Your people will tell the galaxy what happens to those who break their word to humanity." The fifth and sixth targets fell just as easily, each one destroyed in a different way. Each one carefully chosen to send a message to the rest of the galaxy. The humans did not just have overwhelming numbers. They had spent 300 years studying every species, every weakness, every fear. When they decided to make war, they did not just attack. They crafted the destruction of their enemies like artists creating masterpieces. Chairman Vexstar watched it all from his command center on Concordia. Prime every day brought news of another hegemony world falling to the human fleet. But the reports were getting stranger and stranger. "Sir," his aide reported, "the humans have reached the Melkari homeworld." Vexstar's skin went gray with fear. His own people were about to face the human wrath. "How many ships are they sending?" "Just one, sir. One ship against our entire home defense fleet?" "Yes, sir. A single human vessel just entered our system. It is broadcasting a message." The message appeared on Vexstar's screen. A human admiral he did not recognize was speaking. "People of Melkar, we know your leader betrayed the sacred trust between our species. We know he ordered the murder of human children. You have 1 hour to deliver Chairman Vexstar to us. If you refuse, your world will share the fate of the other hegemony worlds." Vexstar felt his heart stop beating. His own people would have to choose between saving him or saving themselves. The choice took them less than 10 minutes. Vexstar's security guards entered his office with weapons drawn. "Sir, you are under arrest by order of the Melkari High Council." "You cannot do this," Vexstar screamed. "I am the chairman." "I have immunity." "Not anymore," said the guard captain. "The council has voted to strip you of all authority. You are being handed over to human justice." 2 hours later, Vexstar found himself in a cell aboard a human ship. The walls were plain metal. The only furniture was a simple bed and chair. But the cell was not meant to be cruel. It was meant to give him time to think about what he had done. A human officer came to visit him every day. Always the same questions. Why did you break the first rule? Why did you think you could deceive us? Do you understand what you have done? At first, Vextar refused to answer. He demanded lawyers and trials and all the rights guaranteed by galactic law. You gave up those rights when you murdered children, the officer told him. But we are not going to kill you. We have something much worse planned. The human fleet finished its work in hegemony space after 37 days. 6 entire civilizations reduced to shadows of their former selves. Billions of beings left. Alive but broken, knowing they would never recover from what the humans had done to them. But the most terrible part was how carefully the humans had planned each attack. They did not kill out of rage. They destroyed with cold precision, making sure each enemy would survive just long enough to serve as a warning to others. The galaxy watched in horror as the mightiest alliance in known space was dismantled. Peace. By peace, every species with children began to understand why the first rule existed. Humans did not just fight wars. They ended the ability of their enemies to ever fight again, and they had only just begun. Admiral Cross stood on his bridge as the fleet prepared to return to human space. Around him, officers worked quietly at their stations. No one was celebrating their victory. This had not been a battle. It had been an execution. "Sir," said his communications officer, "we are receiving messages from neutral governments across the galaxy. They want to discuss new treaties and agreements." The human fleet arrived at Concordia Prime like Judgment Day itself. 300,000 ships surrounded the great space station that had been the center of galactic government for 800 years. Inside the main council chamber, representatives from 400 species waited in terrified silence. Many of them had never seen a human warship before. Now they were surrounded by the largest military force in galactic history. Admiral Cross walked into the chamber alone. He wore a simple uniform with no decorations. His face showed no anger, no hatred, only cold determination. Behind him came 2 guards carrying a metal cage. Inside the cage was Chairman Vextar. The former leader of the galaxy looked nothing like the proud politician he had been. His gray skin was covered in shame scars that his people carved into themselves when they had done terrible crimes. His eyes were empty and broken. "Members of the former Galactic Council," Cross said in a voice that carried to every corner of the chamber, "you are here to witness the end of one age and the beginning of another." Ambassador Kethvara stood up slowly. Her blue skin was pale with fear, but she was still brave enough to speak. "Admiral Cross, what you have done to the hegemony worlds goes against every law of civilized warfare. You have destroyed entire civilizations for the crimes of their leaders." "Have I?" Cross asked calmly. "Let me tell you what I have done. I have made sure that no species will ever again think human children are acceptable targets." He gestured to the cage. "This creature and his allies planned the murder of 12,000 innocent children. Not soldiers, not combatants. Children who were playing in parks and learning in schools." The chamber was dead silent. Everyone knew the story of New Eden by now. "For 300 years, Cross continued, humanity kept the peace in this galaxy. We asked for only one thing in return, one simple rule. Do not harm our children." He walked closer to the assembled ambassadors. "We shared our technology with you. We protected your trade routes from pirates. We stopped wars before they could start. We asked for nothing except that you honor the one law that kept us all safe. But the Council broke that law, not by accident. Not in the heat of battle. They planned it carefully. They thought they could trick us. They thought we would never find out the truth." Cross pressed a button on his arm. Holographic displays filled the chamber, showing the evidence of the conspiracy. Financial records, communication logs, video of the planning meetings. "Every member of this council knew what was being planned," Cross said. "Some of you helped. Others stayed silent. None of you warned us." Ambassador Kethvara's voice was barely a whisper. "We were afraid. The hegemony threatened us. They said they would destroy our worlds if we spoke against them. And yet you let human children die instead of taking that risk. The truth of those words hit the chamber like a physical blow. Hundreds of beings who considered themselves civilized had allowed children to be murdered rather than face danger themselves. Cross turned to address the entire assembly. The old Galactic Council is dissolved as of this moment. The treaty systems that governed relations between our species are void. The trade agreements and defense pacts are cancelled. Panic filled the chamber. Without the council structure, dozens of wars would start within days. Trade routes would collapse. Entire civilizations would fall into chaos. However, Cross continued, humanity is prepared to offer a new arrangement. We call it the Terran Protectorate. The holographic displays changed to show a new map of the galaxy. Human fleets were positioned at key points throughout known space. Under the Protectorate, human forces will maintain order and protect peaceful civilizations from aggression. We will ensure fair trade and prevent wars between member species. What do you want in return? Asked a small ambassador from the Rigel. Colonies, simple, Cross replied. You will follow one law above all others. Any species that deliberately harms children of any race will face human justice. Not just human children anymore, all children. Every innocent young life in the galaxy is now under our protection. The chamber erupted in confused voices. Some species were relieved. Others were terrified of human domination. What about our sovereignty? Demanded General Brixtel of the warrior clans. What about our right to govern ourselves? You can govern yourselves however you choose, Cross said. As long as you do not harm children, start wars if you must. Fight over resources. Argue about borders. But the moment you target the innocent, you will answer to us. He gestured again, and the display showed human patrol routes throughout the galaxy. Human ships will monitor all conflicts. Human observers will be stationed on every world with a significant population. We will know when crimes against children are committed, and we will respond. Ambassador Kethvara stood again. Admiral, with respect, what you are describing is not protection, it is occupation. You are making yourselves the rulers of the galaxy. Cross looked at her with something that might have been sadness. We never wanted to rule anyone. We wanted to explore the stars and make friends with other species. But you have shown us that we cannot trust others to protect the innocent. The hegemony's actions were extreme, Kethvara argued. Most species would never harm children, would they not? Cross asked. He pressed another button. The display showed intelligence reports from across the galaxy. Child soldiers being used in wars, young beings sold as slaves. Entire populations of children used as hostages in political disputes. In the past year alone, Cross said, we have documented over 3,000 cases of crimes against children by council member species. Not just the hegemony, dozens of so-called civilized races treating their young as disposable tools. The chamber fell silent as the representatives realized the scope of what the humans had discovered. We have been blind, Cross continued. We thought that because humans value children above all else, other species did the same. We were wrong. So now we will teach the galaxy to value what we value. And if we refuse? Asked General Brixtel. Cross's expression did not change. Then you will share the fate of the hegemony. The threat hung in the air like poison. Everyone had seen what happened to the 6 most powerful military forces in the galaxy. They had been reduced to broken remnants in less than 40 days. However, Cross said, those who join the Protectorate willingly will find us to be generous protectors. Human technology will be shared freely. Human medicine will heal your sick. Human ships will defend your worlds from any threat. He walked to the center of the chamber. We are offering you a choice. Accept human protection and live in a galaxy where no child need fear violence. Or reject our offer and face the consequences alone. How long do we have to decide? Asked Ambassador Kethvara. The offer expires when I leave this station, Cross replied. Those who have not agreed to join the Protectorate by then will be considered hostile to human interests. The next 4 hours were chaos. Species representatives called emergency sessions with their governments. Trade deals were renegotiated. Defense alliances were rewritten. In the end, 387 species joined the Terran Protectorate. 13 chose to remain independent. Those 13 species found their space lanes patrolled by human warships, their communications monitored by human intelligence, their military movements tracked by human satellites. Within 6 months, 12 of the 13 had requested to join the Protectorate. The last holdout, a warrior culture that glorified violence against all enemies, found their homeworld surrounded by human fleets until they surrendered. 1 year after the destruction of New Eden, the galaxy had been completely transformed, human. Patrol ships moved through every star system, watching for signs of violence against children. Human observers lived on thousands of worlds, reporting directly to Admiral Cross and his council. The new capital of galactic government was not Concordia Prime, it was New Geneva, a human space station built in the ruins of the old New Eden system. Admiral Cross stood in his office, looking out at the memorial garden that had been built where the human colony once stood. 12,000 small lights floated in space, one for each child who had died. His aide entered with the daily reports. Sir, the Altarian government has requested human intervention in their civil war. They say their opponents are using child soldiers. Send the Fifth Fleet, Cross ordered. Full intervention protocols. And the trade dispute between the Rigel colonies and the Crystal Courts? Both sides have agreed to human arbitration. Send Ambassador Kim to negotiate a settlement. His aide hesitated. Sir, there is one more thing. Chairman Vexstar has requested to speak with you. Cross considered this. The former galactic leader had been in human custody for a year, serving as a living reminder of what happened to those who broke faith with humanity. Bring him here. 10 minutes later, Vexstar shuffled into the office. The proud politician had aged decades in a single year. His shame scars covered most of his body now. You wanted to see me? Cross asked. I wanted to apologize, Vexstar said. Quietly. I know it means nothing now. I know it will not bring back the children, but I needed to say it. Cross studied the broken alien. Do you understand why we did what we did? I thought I did. I thought you were monsters who valued power above all.